Hello and welcome. I am Thomas Porteus and you're watching The World Report. Let's take a look at the top headlines this hour. 4 different wildfires continue to ravage Los Angeles as the death toll reaches 16. Senior officials, including the LA mayor and fire chief, have defended their positions. South Korea confirms that Ukraine captured 2 injured North Korean soldiers. Ukraine claims to have struck one of Russia's largest oil refineries in a drone attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu sends Mossad director to Qatar for ceasefire negotiations. Meanwhile, Israel continues to pound Gaza, killing 8 people in a school-turned-shelter. 4 IDF soldiers were also killed in the region. South Korean President Yoon will not attend his first impeachment meeting. The president skips court amid protests for and against him. These come after he imposed martial law on the 3rd of December last year. Los Angeles battles raging wildfires with flames tearing through neighborhoods, leaving devastation in its wake. Here's how authorities and communities are responding.
Wildfires are wreaking havoc across Los Angeles, with devastating flames tearing through neighborhoods, reducing homes to ashes and leaving thousands displaced. The death toll has climbed to 16 as residents grapple with the destruction. In the Altadena suburb, remnants of chimneys rise from the rubble, grim markers of what were once homes. Meanwhile, the Pacific Palisades is unrecognizable, with beachfront areas scorched and debris strewn across the landscape. Los Angeles firefighters are working tirelessly to contain the infernos, but strong winds are fanning the flames, pushing them toward untouched neighborhoods and forcing fresh evacuations. Amid this disaster, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have joined forces with World Central Kitchen founder Jose Andres. Together, they are offering comfort and free hot meals to those affected, providing a ray of hope in these dark times. Authorities are stepping up measures to ensure safety. A strict curfew has been enforced in evacuated zones to protect property and deter looting. The Los Angeles County Sheriff, Robert Luna, emphasized the importance of this measure.
This curfew will be strictly enforced and is being taken to enhance public safety, protect property, and prevent any burglaries or looting in the area that the residents have evacuated. The only people that will be allowed in these areas are disaster workers.
Support is pouring in from all fronts. President Joe Biden has pledged full federal backing, including 100% FEMA reimbursement for response costs. Mayor Karen Bass echoed this commitment to helping Angelenos during her latest address. Los Angeles remains resilient in the face of this crisis. As firefighters battle the blazes and volunteers provide aid, the city's spirit shines through. From those on the front lines to those offering a helping hand, the fight to rebuild and recover is underway. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from North America. US President Joe Biden renewed deportation relief for 900,000 immigrants from Venezuela, El Salvador, Ukraine and Sudan. This move is seen as a delay to any efforts by President-elect Donald Trump to end these protections. The US Department of Homeland Security is granting an 18-month reprieve and access to work permits. Mexico has sent a team of firefighters to California to assist with the wildfires in Los Angeles. President Claudia Sheinbaum shared photos on X of firefighters holding the flags of Mexico and California while standing in front of 2 planes on a runway. Special Counsel Jack Smith resigned from the US Department of Justice. His resignation comes ahead of Trump's inauguration for a second term on January the 20th. He was appointed by Attorney General Merrick Garland in November 2022 to take over 2 investigations into President-elect Donald Trump. A Tennessee man, Benjamin Cook, is facing 6 counts of aggravated assault after allegedly opening fire on a family sledging in the snow. Additional charges could be filed depending on the investigation's outcome. President-elect Donald Trump announced incoming duties for several key cabinet positions in a series of social media posts. Trump, who takes office in less than 10 days, made the announcement on Truth Social on Sunday afternoon. He began by naming Catherine McGregor as the next Deputy Secretary of the Interior, a position she held in Trump's first administration. She also named David Fatoussi to serve as the next Deputy Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. The war between Russia and Ukraine has developed significantly in recent days. On one hand, Ukraine has captured 2 North Korean soldiers and has attacked a Russian oil refinery. On the other hand, Germany has accused Russia of escaping from the fresh sanctions. Here is the report.
Ukraine has made significant developments in the raging war with Russia. On Saturday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky reported the capture of 2 North Korean soldiers in Kursk. South Korea's intelligence agency, NIS, backed up Ukraine's account of having captured the soldiers. It said one of the captured soldiers revealed that he received military training from Russia.
Зараз ці двоє отримують медичну допомогу, спілкуються зі слідчими СБУ. Росіяни видають цим корейцям свої документи, але нікого цим не обмануть.
The intelligence service said the soldier with the Russian ID card said that he had been issued the document in the name of another person in Russia last year. Additionally, Ukraine has also claimed to have struck one of Russia's largest oil refineries in a drone attack, starting a fire at the facility. The attack on the Taneko refinery, one of the largest and most modern refineries in Russia, was the second time the facility had been struck by Ukrainian forces within the space of a year. However, the press service of the Republic of Tatarstan denied there had been a fire at the plant, insisting instead that it had been carrying out a mock evacuation as a safety exercise. In another development, German authorities have said an oil tanker stuck in German waters belongs to Russia's shadow fleet, which Berlin says is used to avoid sanctions. Germany's maritime authorities earlier said that the Panamanian-flagged ship, known as Aventin, had lost power and steering, meaning tugboats were deployed to secure the vessel. Russia, which previously declined to respond to accusations that it uses a shadow fleet, has not yet commented on this incident. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from Europe. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky called on allies to honour all promises to supply Ukraine with weapons. This includes those to counter Russian air attacks. Zelensky said that over the past week, Russian forces had launched hundreds of strikes on Ukraine. In these, nearly 700 aerial bombs and over 600 attack drones were used. Zelensky called on Ukraine's allies to fulfill agreements they had already made. He had also discussed with partners the possibility of granting Ukraine licenses to produce air defense systems and missiles. 6 people died when a propane-butane cylinder exploded at a restaurant in the northwest Czech city of Most. 8 people were injured in the fiery blast. Additionally, 30 people were evacuated from the restaurant and surrounding buildings. The fire brigade said it had rescued one seriously injured restaurant guest who had been trapped in a bathroom. Around 20 guests were in the restaurant at the time of the explosion. Residents of the French territory Mayotte braced for another storm. It is expected to bring strong winds and flash floods in the region. Mayotte was placed on red alert in the anticipation of the passage of Delicade. It hit the northern coast of Madagascar as a cyclone on Saturday evening and weakened into severe tropical storm. It could be classified as a cyclone by Monday morning, according to the French Weather Service. Jean-Marie Le Pen, French far-right firebrand, was buried in a private ceremony in his native Brittany amid tight security. His funeral followed a mass in his hometown in Western region. The funeral was attended by his daughter Marine Le Pen, who took over her father's political mantle, and other family members, political allies and close friends. Around 200 people were expected at the church service. After this, Le Pen was buried in the vault where his parents rest. A bus accident on a snowy motorway in Germany left 2 people dead and another 4 seriously injured. The accident occurred on the A11 highway near Prenzlau, located north of Berlin. The 2 people were killed, a 29-year-old woman, a 48-year-old man. According to a police statement, the bus veered off the road due to adverse weather conditions and then overturned. There were 13 passengers and a driver on board. Passengers were freed from the wreck through the front window. Croatians were voting in a presidential runoff election. Opinion polls gave incumbent Zoran a lead over Dragan, the ruling party challenger for the position. Preliminary results will be known by about 7 o'clock GMT. Full official results are expected in the following days after casting his ballot in the capital, Zagreb. Milanic told reporters he was confident of winning another term in office. Around 3.8 million people in the NATO and European Union members are eligible to vote in Sunday's second round. In a critical diplomatic push amidst escalating tensions in Gaza, US Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday. His visit is part of ongoing efforts to broker a hostage deal and secure a ceasefire in the region. Meanwhile, protests continue in Tel Aviv, calling for an end to the conflict. The situation grows increasingly dire as Israeli forces report more casualties. Here is a report.
You have probably been one.
The USA Middle East envoy, chosen by President-elect Donald Trump, met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday. Steve Witkoff's visit comes amidst efforts to secure a hostage deal and ceasefire in Gaza. Before meeting Netanyahu, Steve also met Qatari Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani to discuss the efforts to reach ceasefire in Gaza Strip. After discussion, Netanyahu's office said the Prime Minister would send the director of the Mossad foreign intelligence agency David Barnea to Qatar's capital to advance a hostage deal. Meanwhile, hundreds of protesters gathered in the streets of Tel Aviv demanding an end to the war and hostage deal. A giant billboard was also seen on a Tel Aviv street. It's shown as President-elect Donald Trump with a quote that reads, "All of them until 21 or the fire of hell will open." Amidst this situation, Israeli military said 4 soldiers died in combat in the northern Gaza Strip. The deaths brought to 403 the number of soldiers killed in the Strip since Israel's ground offensive. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from the Indo-Pacific region. Malaysia Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has clarified that the government has not hidden any documents. These documents are related to jailed former Premier Najib Razak's home detention. Najib has pursued a legal bid to compel the government to confirm and execute the order. He claims the former king issued this order alongside a pardon granted last year. However, the order allegedly allows him to serve the rest of his sentence at home. The Premier of Australia's New South Wales state, Chris Minns, has stated that an attack on a Sydney synagogue marks an escalation of anti-Semitic crime. Police reported attempted arson at the synagogue on Saturday. Australia has experienced a series of anti-Semitic incidents over the past year. These include graffiti on buildings and cars in Sydney. The Taliban in Afghanistan has declined to attend a global summit on Muslim girls' education. The summit is being hosted by Pakistan. Pakistan's Minister Khalid Maqbool Siddiqui has stated that an invitation was sent to the Taliban government in Afghanistan. However, no one from the Taliban has shown up. US President Joe Biden will have a trilateral call with Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba and Philippines President Ferdinand Marcos. This call is scheduled for early Monday. The call was initially scheduled for Sunday, but it has been postponed due to the Los Angeles wildfires. Japanese Foreign Minister Takeshi Ishiwaya has announced plans to attend Donald Trump's inauguration as US President on January the 20th. This comes as Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba's government aims to maintain close ties with its security ally. He also stated that Japan aims to build a relationship of trust with the Trump administration securely. Bangladesh's interim government has once again described violence against minority groups as politically motivated. They also stated that a majority of incidents against the minority communities since August last year were in political nature and not communal. South Korea's impeached President Yoon has made a dramatic decision to skip the critical trial hearing that could determine his fate. Citing safety concerns, Yoon's move adds fuel to the country's escalating political crisis. Here is the full report.
South Korea's impeached president, Yoon Suk-yeol, has decided not to attend the first hearing of the trial that will determine whether he will be removed from office or reinstated. Yoon's lawyer, Yoon Kab-kyun, has stated that officials from the Corruption Investigation Office and the police have attempted to execute illegal arrest warrants through unlawful methods, raising fears of personal safety. He added that the issue of security must be resolved before the president can appear in court. The Constitutional Court hearing is scheduled for Tuesday. Meanwhile, the anti-graft office plans a second attempt to arrest Yoon in connection with a criminal probe over his failed attempt to impose martial law in December. An initial arrest attempt earlier this month failed after a 6-hour standoff at Yoon's fortified compound in central Seoul. The CIO confirmed that Yoon's attorney submitted a notice of appointment of lawyers this afternoon, though no further details were provided. Yoon's move to impose martial law has triggered South Korea's most significant political crisis in decades and has impacted growth expectations for the country's economy. Bureau Report, NewsX.
We will now take a look at some news updates from the world of business. The Biden administration delayed until June for an order for Nippon Steel to abandon its $14 billion bid for US steel. President Joe Biden blocked the acquisition on national security grounds on January the 3rd. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said this week the proposed deal had received a thorough analysis by the Integrity's review body. This delay will give the courts time to review a legal challenge the steelmakers brought against Biden's order. The parties previously had 30 days to unwind their transaction. Apple's board of directors recommended investors vote against shareholder proposal. This asks to abolish the company's diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. The National Center for Public Policy, a conservative think tank, submitted the proposal. The proposal cited recent Supreme Court decisions and made the argument that DEI could make Apple more vulnerable to lawsuits. Apple responded that it had a well-established compliance program and the proposal was unnecessary. A federal judge in Texas said American Airlines violated federal law. This was because of basing investment decisions for its employee retirement plan on non-financial factors. The judge said he would later decide on whether class members suffered financial harm and American must pay for them damages. The ruling appeared to be the first of its kind amid growing backlash by conservatives to an uptick in socially conscious investing. Gilead Sciences has entered into a partnership with Denmark's Leo Pharma. The merger aims to develop programs to treat patients with inflammatory diseases. The Danish company will be eligible to receive up to $1.7 billion in payments. In return, Gilead will have global rights to develop and commercialize the small molecule oral STAT6 program. Leo Pharma may also receive tiered royalty ties ranging from high digit mid-teens on sales. US bank JP Morgan Chase asked its hybrid schedule employees to return to the office 5 days a week starting in March. This has prompted hundreds of staff comments, including complaints financial companies have been aggressive in enforcing return to office demands in the wake of the pandemic. Some JP Morgan staffers pushed back against the return to office directive. more than half of JP Morgan's employees already came into the office full-time. Lebanon and Syria are moving towards closer cooperation, with Prime Minister Najib Mikati announcing joint efforts to secure their land borders. In a historic visit to Damascus, Mikati and Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara discussed key issues, including smuggling, border challenges and economic ties. This visit marks the first by a Lebanese Prime Minister to Syria in 15 years, as both nations seek to resolve long-standing matters amid regional shifts. Let's take a look at the report.
Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati has said Beirut and Damascus will work together to secure their land borders. In the first trip by a Lebanese Prime Minister to neighboring Syria in 15 years, Mikati addressed a joint news conference with Syria-Delaware Facto leader Ahmed al-Shara. Al-Shara said they had discussed issues including smuggling between two countries, border challenges and Syrian foreign direct investment in Lebanese banks.
أعتقد أن سيكون هناك علاقات استراتيجية طويلة الأمد وبينه وبين لبنان مصالح مشتركة كبيرة جدا ووجود حالة مستقرة في لبنان بوجود فخامة الرئيس جوزيف عون أو دولة الرئيس لعلم كان سيعاد انتخابه في الأيام القادمة أم لا، نأمل ذلك إن شاء الله. فسيكون هناك علاقات استراتيجية طويلة الأمد بيننا وبين لبنان تبنى على قواعد.
Syria was the dominant power in Lebanon for 3 decades under the Assad family. Taking office on Thursday, Lebanese President Joseph Aoun swore that he would seize the historic opportunity to start serious dialogue with the Syrian state. Amidst a situation where Hezbollah got weakened after 2 months of full-scale war with Israel late last year, both Syrian and Lebanese leaders seem eager to solve long-pending issues. Bureau Report, NewsX.
And that is all we have time for. We will be back with more international news updates.